Thomas, Jenna, and their cousin Ben stood in awe. In the Time Treasury, the museum their uncle owned, their eyes were wide with wonder and anticipation. Now that their uncle was missing for almost a week, their parents had met to discuss what to do next. Meanwhile, the three children wandered off through the dark and mysterious hallways. Thomas was the oldest of the three and already 12. He was the most adventurous of the group and kept leading the other two further into the museum. Jenna, his little sister, tried to remind him that their mother had told them not to stray so far from the entrance, but he just pretended not to hear her. Ben didn't care either. He was too curious to see whether he could discover new cool art somewhere that he didn't already know from his books. Everywhere they looked, the display cases were covered in dust and sheets. Then, in the corner of the hall, the children noticed something peculiar. There was only one display case left open, revealing a diorama from the old kingdom of ancient Egypt. In front of it, the children saw a luminous singing bowl, vibrating with a beautiful melody that seemed to captivate them. Ben stepped forward, mesmerized by the sight, and realized with amazement that the engravings on the bowls showed their missing uncle. "What do you think it is?" Jenna asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "It looks like a singing bowl," Ben answered. "They make the most amazing sounds." Thomas, the oldest, wanted to check this, and before anyone could stop him, he flicked against the bowl. A loud crack sounded through the room, and suddenly a vortex appeared, swirling around the bowl. Before they had time to react, the children were sucked through the diorama and into the ancient world of Egypt, beginning an adventure like no other. The children ended up in a bustling market in the heart of an ancient city. They were amazed to find that they were wearing Egyptian clothes and could read and speak the language. The streets were alive with activity. Everywhere they looked, there were merchants selling their wares from colorful stalls and vibrant tents. The air was filled with the sweet smell of spices and strange fruits, as well as the smoky aroma of incense burning in small bowls. The noise was deafening. People shouted out their prices in a cacophony of dialects, while children ran around laughing and playing games. Musicians played traditional songs on strange instruments, creating an exotic soundtrack to the scene. The children noticed that many of the people wore intricate clothing adorned with gold jewelry or brightly colored fabrics. They also saw some people carrying ancient scrolls, which they assumed were full of wisdom passed down through generations. "What is this place?" Ben asked, his voice filled with wonder. "I think it's ancient Egypt," Jenna answered, her eyes wide with amazement. As they made their way through the market, Jenna noticed a name on one of the buildings. "It says Pharaoh Djoser," she said, her heart pounding with excitement. "We must be in Memphis, the capital of Egypt, in 2700 BC. Suddenly, they noticed that they were being watched. Thomas quickly hid the singing bowl in his robe when he saw two Egyptian children inspecting them. Jenna waved to them, but the children only laughed and ran away. Without thinking, Thomas impulsively chased after them. "Thomas, leave it alone!" Jenna called after him. "Don't cause any trouble!" But it was too late. Ben, however, noticed a shortcut between two stalls. Ducking and weaving between the crowded stalls, Ben and Jenna quickly made their way to the other side. As they ran, Jenna noticed that the stall-keepers were giving them strange looks. She tried to ignore them and focus on the path ahead. Finally, they reached the other side and saw the two Egyptian girls laughing and playing in the street. Ben and Jenna joined them, panting slightly from the exertion. Shortly after, Thomas also caught up with them and snorted in annoyance that he was the last one. The children were two girls, Amunet and Chione. They laughed and found the chase very funny. "Where are you from?" Amunet asked, her eyes full of curiosity. "And why are you so pale?" "We're from a faraway land," Jenna answered. "We're looking for our uncle." Amunet's eyes grew wide. "I think I know who you're talking about," she exclaimed excitedly. "While I was playing in the royal palace of Pharaoh Djoser, I saw a man who was as pale as you." Chione nodded. "We know a secret way into the palace," she said with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Come, follow us." Without hesitation, the 5 of them quickly ran to the palace. After crawling through gaps in the wall, they hid from the guards and peered through a fence. To their surprise, they saw Uncle Matthew being held captive. He was wearing his normal clothes, not Egyptian ones. The children looked at each other, unsure of what to do next. Thomas wanted to rush in and free their uncle, but Ben was worried. Amunet and Chione agreed that it was too dangerous. But then Amunet had an idea. "Our father, Imhotep, knows Pharaoh Djoser well," she said. "He is his master builder. Maybe he can help us." So together, the group set off south on a reed boat to Saqqara, where Imhotep was building Pharaoh Djoser's step pyramid. When they arrived, Imhotep was initially reluctant to help them. But then Thomas's singing bowl accidentally slipped out of his robe and Imhotep recognized it in amazement. "The magic singing bowl! Have you been able to travel through time?" he asked incredulously. The children nodded in agreement, while Amunet and Chione were ecstatic at this news, as they had never seen anyone time travel before. Now understanding their mission, Imhotep agreed to take them to Pharaoh Djoser. With renewed enthusiasm, they all went to see the pharaoh together. Imhotep was let in and explained that the pale stranger was a master builder from another land whom he had summoned. Upon hearing this, Pharaoh Djoser released Uncle Matthew. Out in front of the palace, Imhotep told them about how he once found this singing bowl himself and used it to time travel in the past. He said he had hidden it until it was found 4,700 years later by Uncle Matthew and the children. He also explained that orders had always been shown in the bowl, although nobody knew where they came from. Uncle Matthew explained that he had accidentally activated the singing bowl and dropped it in fright, without which he could not go back home. "But how can we return?" Ben asked. Imhotep smiled as he replied, "All you have to do is flick against the bowl." With heavy hearts but lightened spirits, the children said goodbye to Imhotep, Amunet and Chione with tears in their eyes. Amunet and Chione handed them 2 small figurines of cats made of sandstone as a souvenir. They promised to keep in touch before traveling back with Uncle Matthew to their own time into the Time Treasury Museum. Their parents were relieved and happy to see them safe after worrying about them being gone for several hours. Uncle Matthew apologized and lied with a sheepish smile that he had simply lost track of time while researching in the catacombs of his museum over the past few days, winking at the children. Everyone was just glad to be reunited again, and the children were already looking forward to new adventurous trips in the Time Treasury.